Hello everyone, I thought I'd make a video talking about what it would look like if we were to bring our streaming setup for the classroom home and the two different ways you can kind of set it up. And you're gonna need either one setup or some additional materials for the second setup, but everything that you need is contained in your classroom streaming setup that we have at school. So it's just a matter of what you have at home and what you need to bring home to put everything together. So if you take a look here over on the left, I have our speaker slash microphone combination. It's the one that has the USB plug, but it's also Bluetooth. If you hadn't had a chance to go and take a peek at the video that talks about how to use this wirelessly, then definitely go back and review it. I also have our webcam right over here, and also our mini display port to HDMI. Now this is the one that was actually on the back of our display. It's only about 3 feet in length. However, if you have a projector screen in your classroom along with one of the newer Epson boards, you have one like this that is black and probably about 15 feet long. That's the one you're going to want to grab, because this one being only 3 feet will work, but it won't give you that much distance at all from your computer, from your television, which is what we're going to be hooking this up to. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that you sneak into your closet, if that's where you have it stored, or at the front of your classroom where your wired mini display port to HDMI cable is, and grab that, because that 15 feet is really going to come in handy. So that is actually all you need if you don't have an Apple TV at home. Again, you need your speaker and Bluetooth, your webcam, and your mini display port to HDMI cable. Now, if you have an Apple TV at home, you could choose to bring home your display along with the power cord for your USB hub, the USB hub itself, and of course you want to make sure that that display power cord is still attached to the display. But there are a couple ways to set up your Apple TV. You don't have to bring all of this home with you. I'm going to show you how to set up the Apple TV using the external display and not using the external display. So let's get started. All right, everybody. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can use your external display along with your laptop at home, also bringing in the camera as well as the external speaker and microphone, kind of just to somewhat replicate the situation that we have in the classroom. So let's take a peek over here. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and plug in our mini display port to HDMI cable. So we're going to take one end of that, the mini display port right here, and this is going to go right on into the right hand side of the computer into the mini display port. It should sit flush like that. And we'll take the other end and plug it in to the back. So let's take a look around here, and you'll see in the back of the monitor, as we approach, we'll grab that cable. The HDMI port is labeled HDMI, it's right there. And we're gonna grab this cord and put it right into that port. It's a little hard to see from this angle, but I assure you it is there, and we'll be able to get this guy plugged in. Perfect. It should sit kind of flush like that. All right, and now let's come over here and we'll grab the cable for our camera. Just a regular USB cord, and we'll plug that right over in on the side here of the laptop. Let's get that plugged in. Perfect. And then we'll sneak around and grab the last part of our setup, which is going to be the USB wire for the speaker slash microphone. And then we are pretty much all set. And there we go. We have the external monitor showing our display over here. We're in mirror mode, again, which you can toggle with Command and F1. We have our external speaker, and we're ready to go. We could be using our whole setup just like this. Now, we don't have any free USB ports here. As you notice, we've got one here over here for the camera and the other for the speaker. So our choices in this situation are to either unplug and use this as a Bluetooth speaker, which by all means, if you haven't checked out the video, please go and do so. Or we could bring in the powered USB hub if we so chose to. And you can see that in a little bit of a later video, or the very first video about setting this up. But this one's going to require some power. So it all depends what your setup at home is going to look like. But this is a pretty simple setup that you can use by just bringing home your laptop, the speaker, the camera, and the display. But if you don't want to bring the display home, let's check out and see what other options you have available. Okay, everybody. Now let's start with the quote-unquote hard cable first, and we're going to do the HDMI to the mini display port, which goes into the TV and then into the computer. So let's start with the HDMI end first. This is going to be the part that you're going to plug right into your television. And let's take a look to the back of the TV here. And what you're going to be looking for are there some ports that look like this. Sometimes they're on the side of your television. Other times they're on the underside like this. But you should have a couple. And you're going to want to look for where it says HDMI in, and it'll say 1, 2, 3, and so on, depending on how many you have. If you don't have an HDMI port on your television, then you're not going to be able to use this solution, in which case you'll probably want to just stick with the external display. So definitely something you want to take a peek at, just so you're aware of what you have at home. That way you know what you need to bring. So let's take this end of the HDMI cable, and we're going to plug it right in there into HDMI 1. It should sit in just like that, kind of flush with the connector right there. And just make sure that you take a note of which port you're using. We're using HDMI 1 right here, and that's going to come in handy when it comes time to change our input on our TV. Then we're going to take our other connector right there, our mini display port, and that's going to go right into our computer. So as I take a walk over here to the laptop, we're going to grab that and put that right into the port, and that should sit flush as well. So that'll go right in there. It'll take a moment for my computer to recognize that it's been plugged into something, and then let's go ahead and finish up the rest of our connections here. I have our speaker and microphone, which is just a regular USB cable, which is going to go right into the side of the computer. And then lastly, the webcam, of course, which we're definitely going to need. That's another USB, and it's going to go into the other side. So you can see that we can still get pretty much the same experience we were using in the classroom with the computer and the television without the need necessarily to bring home that whole big display. But again, here's my cable. It's 3 feet, not really that far. You're definitely gonna wanna be looking for something that's just longer. So take a peek in your classroom and make sure that you have that longer cable. So let's grab our webcam here and move this over, and it's gonna be a little bit of kind of guess and check to see where it works. Next, we're gonna grab our remote controls and turn on our television. And everyone's TV is a little bit different, so bear with me. If you have a smart TV, this is a Amazon Fire TV by Toshiba. But if you have one of these, or if you have a Roku or something like that, a lot of times once you turn the television on, you'll be presented with different apps and things like that. And then you'll also have, if you scroll down a little bit, an input section here. And this is what we were using before. It even gives you a preview of your input right over there. I can see our laptop. But we were on HDMI 1. Now, if you don't have something like this, when it comes time to switch inputs, maybe your remote looks a little bit more like this one, or it looks, it's got more buttons on it. But what you're going to be looking for is a button like this that says input or possibly source. And this is what you're going to press until you get to that HDMI 1 or whatever HDMI port that you ended up plugging it into. So remember, input or source, or actually a visual representation of HDMI 1 on your screen. So now that I have that all set, we're going to select HDMI 1 and we will see the television right there. Now let's see if we can get an idea of what this looks like with the camera. So that'll be a little fun. We'll come over here to the computer and let's see if we can do it. And one way that we can check beforehand just to get an idea is we can use a program like Photo Booth. We also could just fire up Google Meet, but since I'm kind of just testing this by myself, I figure it's easy just to use Photo Booth and get an idea of what our camera is going to look like. Now, this right here is the webcam on the computer. And if you notice, I have the camera plugged in, but it's not selected. So if it doesn't seem to be popping up, I can just click camera over here in the top corner of the computer, and I can go down and choose that setting. Now, if you're in Google Meet, remember there's those 3 dots for us to choose the camera, and you will be able to do that before you start. Again, that is something we cover in the classroom streaming setup, so make sure you go back and watch those videos because they're all going to come in handy. So I'm going to click on that, and then you will see here, once it loads up, the camera. Now, if you notice, step 1, make sure that we uncover that lens. There we go. And then we're gonna have the camera all set up. Now we wanna make sure that it is straight, and as I kind of position it, we might be able to set it up in a way that it doesn't move or doesn't roll. You might have to lean something against it, and then you'll see what the camera sees over there on the screen as we bring it into focus. There we go. So that would be pretty close to being straight. So you'll just want to try to find just the right spot, all depending on how you're going to be setting this up in your house. So you might have to wedge something up against it. I might be able to kind of brace it up against the edge of the television there, using the Apple TV kind of like as a wedge. And that's actually pretty good. That's a pretty straight on picture. Let me see if I can get myself out of the frame here, but still leave it so that you guys can see. It's pretty straight and level. So that's more or less how you're going to be able to set this up and use this while you're at home. Again, make sure you grab that longer cable. It's going to give you a better experience. And now let me show you how you can use this along with the Apple TV to kind of bring it up to yet another level. All right, everybody, so let's talk about the Apple TV and kind of how it plays into this setup. Right in front of me, I have the MacBook Air, our wireless and, of course, wired Bluetooth microphone and speaker. So that's right here. And then I have the webcam over here a little bit further. I got the lens cap on as well, just so we don't have to worry about damaging anything. And then let's take a peek kind of how all of this works together. There's a couple ways that we can do it. And we're going to start off simple. One of the things that we're going to have to do, regardless of how we're setting this up, is we're going to need to do AirPlay. So as we take a peek up here in our menu bar, if you notice I actually don't have the AirPlay icon. So if you're missing it, we're going to sneak over into where the Apple logo is, go to System Preferences, and then over here under Displays, we'll click on that. And then right here, we're going to say Show Mirroring Options in the menu bar when available. And that should cause it to pop right up. And it'll load for a second. My Apple TV, I just updated it and refreshed it, so it's called Entertainment Room. Yours will definitely be called something different, I would think. And then it should give you a code over there. That's some intense glare, but I assure you that says 4537. So we're gonna go ahead and type in 4537 and just hit enter. And then it will take a moment. The stars will align and we'll have one display here and one display over here, and they match. So this is pretty neat because right now we are completely wireless. I have nothing plugged in. So this is one way in which we can do this, and we can use Google Meet without having to be tethered to anything. And then if you want to kind of take that a step further and you still want to use this speaker, but you don't want to be plugged in, we can pair it with Bluetooth. And the great thing about that is all we have to do is hold down the power button, and you can watch the video on how to do this, and you'll notice it'll start to spin around like that over there. And then we'll also get a couple other lights illuminated, and the Bluetooth button is right here. So all we have to do is kind of just hold that down.
Bluetooth pairing.
And it'll let you know that it started to pair.
Connected.
And it actually already paired because I paired with this one already. But if you notice, I don't happen to have the Bluetooth icon up here in the top. So again, we're gonna go into System Preferences by going to the Apple logo up here at the top. Go down into System Preferences. I have the window open right over here, so we'll click back. And then we'll go over to Bluetooth right here. And then we'll find our device, our speaker, and just click on where it says connect by right clicking it if it doesn't show up.
PC connected.
And now it's connected. So now we are completely wireless. So we can jump right into Google Meet, use our Bluetooth speaker, move around the room. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, what about the camera? Now in this instance, you may not have to use the camera. The camera definitely does have a higher resolution than what's in there, for sure. But at the same time, if it's just you teaching from home, depending on your setup, you might not want the camera. And depending on what you're doing, you're gonna have the freedom to be able to move around without being tethered to the speaker or to the camera. So you could just use the built-in webcam. But that's just one way that you can use the Apple TV. So if you like that idea of that freedom to being able to use the Bluetooth speaker and your computer and your television without a cable, that's a huge advantage. But let's take a look at another way that you can still use the Apple TV along with these other devices. Okay, everybody, the adventure continues. In front of me, I have the external display. It's a big one. And then I have the Apple TV a little bit in the background. And then, of course, I have my laptop right here. So attached to the monitor, I have the HDMI to mini display port cable. This is very similar to how it's exactly identical actually to how it's hooked up into the classroom, but similar to how we hook up to the television. Our HDMI port is there in the back. And if you are bringing this home, this is how it is plugged in. So you could just leave it and just wrap it carefully as you pack it. But we're gonna take this end of the cable, bring this on over, and plug it right into the side of the computer here through the mini display port on the right hand side. It's really the only option we have to where to plug that in. And it'll take a moment as it refreshes, and now I have the external display, the Apple TV, and my laptop. And right now, if you watched the previous video where I talked about mirrored versus extended desktop mode, which is what we're in right now, it's actually pretty neat seeing all three of them in there. This is extended desktop mode because we have the background, another background, and then my main laptop. And remember, to be able to switch between the two, we're gonna hold down Command and tap F1. And then now they will all match up. So it's my desktop across all three devices. So this is giving me a lot of screen to be able to work with. I'm still Bluetooth paired to my wireless speaker, and I do have the camera up top there. So if I want to, it all comes down to whatever's gonna work best for you at home. I could use that camera right now, but of course, I'm gonna need to plug that in. So let me grab that USB cable and I'll plug that in right over here next to my mini display port. And then my camera will activate. And don't forget, you have to uncover that lens right there. And now let's go ahead and take a peek and see what that camera looks like. Now, in this situation, this is probably not how I would do my setup. And everyone is gonna have to come up with whatever works best for them, because that camera is pretty much right on top of me. I'm only about 2 feet away from that camera. So let's just get an idea of kind of how that looks over here. So again, I'm gonna go in the photo booth to test it out real quick. And then it's using the built-in camera for the display. So again, we're gonna click on camera up here at the top and flip that over to the camera selection. And then there I am over here. And actually that is a very wide picture of where I am sitting. I'm kind of shocked at how wide that is. And there you're getting an example of how it works with the zoom as you're speaking. So again, that's only about, it's only about 2 feet away from me, but it looks like it's positioned much better. So this would be an option for me to be able to work if I wanted to use 3 displays, because again, I'm using the external display, the Apple TV, and of course my laptop here. So it's all a question of whatever's going to work best for you. In this situation, I am using the Bluetooth. I'm paired to this wirelessly, but I am hardwired over here with the wire for the camera as well as the display. I could plug this in here, but I'd be out of USB ports. And I know what you're asking, what about that USB hub? I did bring it, I did pack it. It is something that we talked about in the very beginning of this video. So I have that here available for me. But just keep in mind that if you're gonna be using this as well, you're gonna need to plug this into the power over here and then plug that into maybe like a power strip or something like that at home in order to get yourself up and running. The nice thing about that is it's going to allow you to be able to use just one USB port. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, everybody, so I went through and I grabbed myself a power strip so I could plug in both my power for the USB hub as well as the display. Because again, it all comes down to what setup is gonna work best for you. And in this instance, for this demonstration, I needed this power strip. So let's take a peek and see how this comes together. So I walk over here, I've got my laptop, the external display. I'm using the camera right over here. So you can see me right over there. Hello. And there's a great example of the zoom feature, works really well. Then I've got the computer and of course the Apple TV. And again, the nice thing about this is I'm using that USB hub, so I'm only using this one USB port. The other USB port on this end is open and free. And then here in the back, I've got the power running to that power strip, and then the USB cable for the camera, and then the whole strip itself comes into the computer here. And then I do also even have an extra USB plug on that side too. So I've got a port here and then another port here. And that's just yet another way that you can use this setup while you're at home to be able to get all 3 displays. So really those are your options. You could use the You could use just the wired display cable with your television. You could use just Apple TV with your television, or you could use the external display, or you could tie them all together. It's really a matter of whatever's going to work best for you at home. And of course, if you have any questions about this process or need any advice, send us an email over at tech@sdh.org, and we'll help take a peek and see what you have and figure out what solution is going to work best for you.